Thomas Whitaker's hand shot out and grabbed Amara's wrist as she reached for her boarding pass. I said, move. His grip was tight enough to hurt. The 10-year-old's eyes went wide with shock and fear. Sir, you're hurting me. Then get out of my seat. He snatched the boarding pass from her tray table with his other hand, crumpling it in his fist. His face was inches from hers now, voice low and venomous. I don't know what kind of scam you and your mother are running, but I fly first class every week. You don't belong here. The entire cabin went silent. A woman gasped. Phones started recording. And then a flight attendant said 5 words that changed everything. Sir, release that child immediately. That's when they learned her last name. Before we continue, smash that subscribe button and stay until the end. You won't believe where this goes. Drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far truth travels. Now let's dive in. Amara Johnson knew the routine by heart. Gate C12, unaccompanied minor badge clipped to her backpack, navy cardigan, jeans, white sneakers, hair in 2 tight braids. She'd done this 11 times before. Today was number 12. Her mother had kissed her forehead that morning at 5 a.m., still in scrubs from the night shift. You have everything? Yes, Mom. Boarding pass? In my pocket. Charger. Backpack. Book? A Wrinkle in Time. Dr. Simone Johnson had smiled, exhausted. That's my girl. Grandma's picking you up at Reagan. Call me when you land. I will. I love you. Love you too. That was 6 hours ago. Now Amara was walking down the jetway of Flight 482, following the gate agent who treated her like fine china. Straight to 2A, sweetie. You know where that is? First row, window. That's right. And if you need anything, press the call button. The agent patted her shoulder. Smart cookie. Amara found her seat in 30 seconds. She stowed her backpack. She buckled up. She opened her book. Chapter 3. She'd read it twice already, but it didn't matter. Reading kept people from asking questions. The cabin filled slowly. Business travelers, a couple with a baby, an older woman who smiled at Amara as she passed. Then Thomas Whitaker arrived. He didn't walk onto a plane. He entered it. Navy suit, Italian shoes, leather briefcase that probably cost more than most cars, silver hair perfectly in place, diamond status tag on his luggage. He'd been flying this route for 7 years, every Monday. Same flight, same seat. 2A, his seat. Except today, someone was in it. A child. A black child. He stopped cold. Excuse me. Amara glanced up. You're in my seat. She didn't speak. She just held up her boarding pass. Whitaker's eyes narrowed. He pulled out his own pass. Compared them. Both said 2A. There's been a mistake, he said. Not to her, to the universe. He turned toward the galley. Flight attendant? Hello? Flight attendant? Jessica appeared, all smiles and professional courtesy. How can I help you, sir? I'm in 2A, he gestured at Amara. She's in 2A. Fix it. Jessica's smile flickered. She looked at Amara, then at the boarding pass in the child's hand, then back at Whitaker. Let me check the manifest, sir. She disappeared. Whitaker stood in the aisle blocking traffic. The man behind him cleared his throat. Whitaker didn't budge. Amara turned a page. She wasn't reading anymore. Her heart was pounding too hard. But she turned the page anyway because that's what you do. You pretend everything's fine until it is. Jessica came back with a tablet. She tapped it, frowned, tapped again. Sir, according to our system, seat 2A is assigned to Amara Johnson. That's impossible. I'm showing, check again. Jessica's smile was gone now. Sir, I've checked. The seat belongs to her. I have diamond status. I understand, but I fly this route every Monday. Sir, I booked this seat 3 weeks ago. A woman boarding behind him stopped. Is there a problem? They double booked, Whitaker said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The woman looked at Amara. Her eyebrows went up. Oh. That one word, that tiny sound. Amara had heard it before. She knew what it meant. Jessica touched Whitaker's arm. Sir, if you could step aside, I'll get the lead attendant. I don't need the lead attendant. I need my seat. Sir, you're blocking the aisle. He moved. Barely. Just enough for passengers to squeeze past. They all looked at Amara as they went by. Some curious, some uncomfortable, Some pulled out their phones. The teenage boy in 3B wasn't even trying to hide it. He had his phone pointed right at her. Amara stared out the window at the tarmac. Jessica leaned down, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Sweetheart, can I see your boarding pass again?" Amara handed it over. Jessica studied it like she was looking for invisible ink. Then she gave it back. "Just hang on, okay?" She vanished into the galley. Passengers kept boarding, squeezing past Whitaker, glancing at Amara, whispering, "What's going on?" Some mix-up with the seats. "That little girl?" "I don't know. This is ridiculous." "Just sit down." A man in 4A muttered to his wife, "This doesn't look right." His wife shushed him. "Don't. I'm just saying. Don't." Amara's hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the book. Then Karen Mitchell appeared. She was the lead flight attendant. Late 40s, auburn hair and a bun so tight it could crack walnuts. 20 years with the airline. She'd handled drunks, fights, medical emergencies, and one guy who tried to perform an exorcism on a passenger in 12C. She did not rattle. But when she saw Amara sitting alone in 2A, something shifted in her face. She walked over. Jessica trailed behind like a shadow. "Hi there, I'm Karen." Amara looked up. "I hear there's some confusion about your seat." "There's no confusion," Amara said quietly. "This is my seat." Karen's smile was professional, practiced. "I'm sure it is, honey, but we need to verify some things. Who booked your ticket?" "My mom." "And what's your mom's name?" "Dr. Simone Johnson." Karen's pen stopped moving. "Doctor?" "She's a trauma surgeon." Karen and Jessica exchanged a look. Something passed between them, something unspoken. "Okay," Karen said slowly. "You're traveling alone today?" "Yes, ma'am." "Do you have paperwork? Unaccompanied minor forms?" Amara reached into her backpack, pulled out a manila envelope, handed it over. Karen opened it, read the first page, then the second. Her eyes went wide. "What is it?" Jessica whispered. Karen didn't answer. She read the second page again. Then she looked at Amara and her whole expression changed. "You're Simone Johnson's daughter." Not a question, a statement. Amara nodded. Karen folded the papers carefully, handed them back. "You're all set, sweetheart. You stay right where you are." She turned to Jessica, lowered her voice, but not enough. Her mother's Dr. Simone Johnson, the trauma surgeon. Jessica went pale. "Oh my God." "Not here," Karen hissed, but Whitaker heard it, all of it. "I fly this route every single week, and we appreciate your loyalty, but the error was on our end, not hers. She checked in first. Her boarding pass is valid." Whitaker stared at Amara. "She's 10 years old." The words dropped like a stone. Karen's jaw tightened. "Her age doesn't invalidate her ticket, sir." "This is absurd." A voice from row 4. "Dude, just take the other seat." Whitaker spun around. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. It's one row back. Sit down so we can leave." Another passenger chimed in. "Seriously, man, let it go." Whitaker's face turned red. He looked around the cabin. Dozens of eyes on him. Some sympathetic, most not. He looked at Amara one last time. She met his gaze without blinking. He grabbed his briefcase, moved to row 3, slammed his bag into the overhead bin. Karen exhaled. She knelt beside Amara. "I'm sorry about that, sweetheart. You okay?" Amara nodded. "You need anything, press that button." "Okay." Karen stood, walked toward the cockpit. Her heels clicked like gunshots. Jessica lingered. She looked like she wanted to say something. Instead, she just smiled weakly and left. Amara opened her book again. Her hands were still shaking. She'd been through this before. Different plane, different seat, same feeling. The stares, the questions, the assumption that she didn't belong. She knew how to handle it. Don't cry, don't argue, just stay where you are. But God, it hurt. Every single time. The cabin filled. Overhead bins slammed. Engines hummed. The door started to close. Then Captain Reynolds stepped out of the cockpit. He was in his early 60s, gray hair, weathered face, 35 years of flying. He'd seen everything: storms, engine failures, bird strikes, passengers who claimed to be time travelers. Nothing surprised him anymore. But when he walked through the cabin and saw Amara in 2A, he paused. He looked at Karen. She walked over. They spoke quietly. Amara couldn't hear them. But she saw Karen hand him the envelope. Captain Reynolds opened it, read the first page, then the second. His expression changed completely. He walked over to Amara's seat, crouched down beside her. "Hi there, I'm Captain Reynolds." "Hi. I wanted to introduce myself, and I wanted to ask you something." Amara waited. "Is your mother Dr. Simone Johnson?" "Yes, sir." The captain's face softened. "I thought so." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Your mom saved lives, a lot of them, including 2 people who work for this airline." Amara didn't know what to say. "I just wanted you to know that you're exactly where you belong, and if anyone makes you feel otherwise, you come find me. Understand?" Her throat tightened. She nodded. The captain stood. He addressed the entire cabin, his voice carrying effortlessly. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Captain Reynolds. Before we depart, I want to remind you that every passenger on this aircraft has been properly ticketed and assigned a seat. If you have concerns about seating, address them with the crew, not with fellow passengers. We're all here to reach our destination safely. Let's treat each other with respect." His eyes swept the cabin, landed on Whitaker for just a beat too long. Then he returned to the cockpit. The door closed. The plane began to move. Amara finally exhaled. But across the aisle in row 3, Thomas Whitaker pulled out his phone. He opened his email, started typing. 2. Customer service. Subject: unacceptable seating situation on Flight 482. He glanced at Amara as he typed. His jaw was still tight. And the flight hadn't even taken off yet. 20 minutes later, they were at 30,000 feet. The seatbelt sign dimmed. Jessica started the drink service. When she reached Amara's row, she smiled. "What would you like, sweetheart?" "Apple juice, please." "Coming right up." She poured it into a plastic cup, set it on Amara's tray table. Then she hesitated. "I'm really sorry about earlier," she said quietly. "That shouldn't have happened." Amara didn't know what to say to that. "Your mom sounds like an amazing person." "She is." Jessica smiled, moved on to the next row. Amara sipped her juice, tried to focus on her book, but the words kept blurring together. Behind her, she could hear Whitaker on his phone. "No, I'm telling you, it was a complete disaster. System error, they said. System error. Do you know how much I pay for diamond status?" The person on the other end said something. I know, but still, it's the principle." More talking. "Fine, I'll handle it when we land. Yeah, talk later." He hung up. Silence. Amara tried to disappear into her book. But then she heard footsteps. Someone was walking up the aisle. She didn't look up. The footsteps stopped beside her row. "Excuse me." It was a woman's voice, soft, kind. Amara glanced over. The woman was in her 60s, gray hair, glasses. She was holding a book of her own. "I'm sorry to bother you, sweetheart. I just wanted to say something." Amara waited. "I saw what happened during boarding, and I wanted you to know that you handled that with more grace than most adults would have. Your mother raised you right." Amara's eyes stung. "Thank you." The woman smiled. "What are you reading?" "A Wrinkle in Time." "Oh, I love that book. Have you gotten to the part with it yet?" "Not yet." "You're in for a treat." She patted Amara's shoulder gently. "You enjoy your flight, honey." She walked back to her seat. Amara wiped her eyes quickly. Across the aisle, a businessman looked over. "You doing okay, kiddo?" She nodded. "Good. Don't let people like that get to you." He went back to his laptop. And for the first time since boarding, Amara felt like maybe she could breathe. But then the intercom crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Reynolds. We've been advised of some moderate turbulence ahead. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts." The plane shuddered. Drinks rattled on tray tables. Amara gripped her armrests. The turbulence lasted 15 minutes, hard enough to make people nervous, not hard enough to panic. When it finally smoothed out, the captain came back on. "Sorry about that, folks. Should be clear skies from here to D.C." But in the back of the cabin, someone pressed the call button. Jessica hurried over. Amara couldn't hear what was being said, but she saw Jessica's face change, saw her glance toward the front of the plane, toward Amara. Then Jessica walked quickly to the galley, grabbed the phone, spoke to someone. 30 seconds later, Karen appeared. She walked down the aisle, stopped at the row where the call button had been pressed, talked to someone Amara couldn't see. Then she walked back up to first class. She stopped at Whitaker's row. "Sir, I need to speak with you privately." Whitaker looked up from his tablet. "About what?" "Privately, sir." He unbuckled, followed her to the galley. Amara couldn't hear what they were saying, but she saw Karen's face, saw the way her arms were crossed, saw Whitaker shake his head, saw him gesture toward Amara. The conversation lasted 2 minutes. When it was over, Whitaker returned to his seat. His face was darker than before. Karen walked past Amara without looking at her, and Amara knew. Someone had complained about her. Her stomach twisted. She put her book down, stared out the window, counted clouds, tried not to cry. She was good at not crying. She'd had a lot of practice. 30 minutes passed. Then an older gentleman in 5A unbuckled and walked up to Amara's row. "Hey there," he said gently. Amara looked up. "I'm Bill. I'm a retired pilot. Flew for this airline for 30 years. Hi. I heard a little bit about what happened earlier, and I just wanted to tell you something. You did nothing wrong. You hear me? Nothing." Amara nodded. "People like that guy back there, they're upset because the world's changing and they don't like it. But that's their problem, not yours." "Okay. You keep your head up. Your mama would be proud." He smiled, walked back to his seat, and Amara felt something crack open inside her chest, something that had been holding everything together. She pressed her face against the window, and finally she let herself cry. Quietly, so no one would notice. Just tears rolling down her cheeks while she stared at the clouds. Because she was 10 years old, and she was tired. So tired of having to prove she belonged. But she wiped her eyes, took a breath, and opened her book again. Because that's what you do. You keep going, even when it hurts. An hour later, the captain announced their descent into Reagan National. The plane tilted. The engines changed pitch. The ground came into view. Amara packed up her things, buckled her seatbelt, waited. The wheels touched down. Applause broke out in the cabin. They taxied to the gate. The seatbelt sign dinged off. Everyone stood, grabbed bags, pushed into the aisle. Amara stayed seated. That was protocol. Unaccompanied minors wait for assistance. Karen appeared. "Ready, sweetheart?" "Yes, ma'am." "Let's get you to your grandma." They walked up the jetway together, into the terminal, toward the gate area, and there she was, Grandma Eleanor, 72 years old, silver hair, bright smile, arms already open. "There's my girl!" Amara ran to her. Eleanor wrapped her in a hug that smelled like lavender and home. "How was your flight, baby?" Amara pressed her face into her grandmother's shoulder, and she lied. It was fine. Because that's what you do. You protect the people you love from the truth, even when the truth is heavy, even when it's still sitting on your chest, even when you can still hear that man's voice saying, "She's 10 years old," like that meant she didn't deserve to be there. Eleanor pulled back, looked at her granddaughter's face, saw something there. "You sure you're okay?" Amara nodded. "Okay, let's get your bag and go home. I made your favorite cookies." They walked toward baggage claim. Behind them, the other passengers from Flight 482 scattered into the terminal, including Thomas Whitaker. He pulled out his phone, dialed a number. "Yeah, it's me. Listen, I need you to look into something." And as Amara held her grandmother's hand and walked toward the exit, she had no idea that the flight was over. But the story was just beginning. Eleanor's house smelled like chocolate chip cookies and lemon polish, the same way it had for the past 40 years. Amara dropped her backpack by the door and followed her grandmother into the kitchen, where a plate of still warm cookies waited on the counter. "Go ahead, baby, take 2. Eleanor poured a glass of milk. "Your mama called. Said she'd try to FaceTime around 8 if the ER slows down." Amara bit into a cookie. It tasted like sawdust in her mouth, but she smiled anyway. "Okay." Eleanor watched her granddaughter closely. 72 years of living had taught her to read silence, and this silence was heavy. "You want to talk about it?" "About what?" "Whatever happened on that plane." Amara's hand froze halfway to her mouth. Nothing happened. Baby girl, I've known you since you were born. Don't nothing me. The cookie crumbled in Amara's hand. She stared at the pieces on the plate. Just some man who thought I was in the wrong seat. Thought or said? Said. Eleanor's jaw tightened. What else did he say? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Amara looked up. Her grandmother's eyes were fierce, protective, the same eyes that had stared down segregation, discrimination, and every person who'd ever tried to make her feel small. He said I didn't belong there, Amara whispered. In first class. He said I was 10 years old. Like that meant I couldn't have a real ticket. Eleanor set down her coffee mug so hard it clattered. Did the crew handle it? Eventually, the captain made an announcement. But Grandma, everyone was staring. Everyone. Come here. Amara walked into her grandmother's arms, and finally, safely, she let herself fall apart. Meanwhile, 300 miles south in Atlanta, Dr. Simone Johnson was elbow deep in a trauma bay, trying to save a man who'd wrapped his motorcycle around a telephone pole. Blood everywhere, monitors screaming. Her hands moved with practiced precision, but her mind kept drifting to her daughter. She'd gotten the text from her mother an hour ago. Amada's here, safe. We need to talk. Those last 4 words made her stomach drop. Suction, she barked at the resident. More suction. I can't see the bleeder. BP's dropping, a nurse called out. I know. Get me 2 units of O-neg. Now. The surgery took another 40 minutes. When she finally stepped out of the OR, stripped off her gloves, and checked her phone, there were 7 missed calls. 3 from her mother, 2 from an unknown number, 2 from the airline. Her heart started pounding. She called her mother first. Eleanor answered on the first ring. Simone! What happened? Is Amara okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally, Eleanor's voice cracked. Baby, someone tried to make her give up her seat. Simone's vision went white. What? Some businessman decided she didn't belong in first class. Made a whole scene. Crew had to get involved. Did they remove her? No. Captain came out, handled it. But Simone, she's torn up. She tried to hide it, but I see it in her eyes. Simone leaned against the wall. Her whole body was shaking. Let me talk to her. She's in the bath. I'll have her call you when she's out. Mom, I need to know exactly what happened. Every detail. Eleanor told her. The boarding pass confrontation, the public questioning, the stares, the phones recording, the businessman's insistence that there'd been a mistake. By the time she finished, Simone was crying. I shouldn't have put her on that plane alone, she whispered. Don't you dare, Eleanor snapped. Don't you dare blame yourself. You did everything right. You paid for that seat. You filled out the paperwork. You trusted the system. This is not on you. She's 10, Mom. I know, baby. I know. Simone wiped her eyes. Her pager went off. Another trauma coming in. I have to go. But, Mom, I'm calling that airline. Tonight. You do that. And Simone, make them listen. She hung up, looked at the unknown numbers. Then the airline calls. She called the airline first. A cheerful voice answered, Thank you for calling. This is Dr. Simone Johnson. My daughter was on flight 482 from Atlanta to D.C. this morning. I need to speak to a supervisor. Now. Ma'am, I'd be happy to help. Can I get your confirmation number? I don't need help. I need a supervisor. The cheerfulness dimmed. May I ask what this is regarding? Discrimination against a minor. Silence. One moment, please. The hold music was insultingly cheerful. Simone waited, her anger building with every synthetic violin note. 2 minutes later, a man's voice came on. This is Derek Harrison, customer service manager. I understand there was an incident on flight 482. An incident? Is that what you're calling it? Ma'am, I don't have the details yet. Can you walk me through what happened? Simone did. Her voice was controlled, but fury bled through every word. When she finished, there was a pause. Dr. Johnson, I want to apologize on behalf of the airline. That should never have happened. Apologies don't undo trauma. I understand, and I want to assure you, we take these matters very seriously. I'm going to pull the flight report, review the crew's handling of the situation, and what? Give me a voucher? Offer me miles? No, ma'am. I'm going to open a formal investigation. I want more than an investigation. I want accountability. And you'll have it. But Dr. Johnson, I need you to understand something. Our crew followed protocol. They confirmed your daughter's seat assignment. The captain made a public statement. They did their job. Their job was to protect my child from being humiliated. With respect, ma'am, they can't control other passengers' behavior. But they can control how they respond to it. And from what my daughter told me, your crew questioned her just as much as that man did. Another pause, longer this time. I'll need to review the details, Harrison said carefully. You do that, and while you're at it, look up who I am. Ma'am? Look me up, Dr. Simone Johnson, Atlanta Mercy Hospital. Then ask yourself if this is really the fight you want to have. She hung up. Her hands were still shaking. Back in D.C., Amara was out of the bath, wrapped in her grandmother's robe, sitting on the couch with hot chocolate. Eleanor had put on The Princess and the Frog, Amara's favorite. But the girl wasn't watching. She was staring at nothing. You want to call your mama now? Amara shook her head. She's working. She wants to hear from you. I don't want to worry her. Eleanor sat down beside her granddaughter. Baby, you are not responsible for your mama's feelings. You hear me? What happened today was not your fault, and you don't have to protect her from it. But she has so much to deal with already. And she would drop everything to be here if she could. You know that, right? Amara nodded. Then let her be your mama. Call her. Amara pulled out her phone. Her mother answered on the first ring. Baby girl. Just those 2 words, and Amara started crying again. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm sorry I didn't tell you right away. Oh, honey, you have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing. You hear me? He made everyone think I stole his seat. I know. He grabbed my boarding pass, Mom. Just took it out of my hand. Simone's voice went deadly quiet. He put his hands on you? Not on me, just the boarding pass. That's still not okay. Nothing about this is okay. They talked for 20 minutes. Simone let her daughter cry, let her rage, let her ask the questions that had no good answers. Why did he think I didn't belong there? Because some people are small-minded and scared. Scared of what? Change. Progress. A world where a little black girl can sit in first class without asking permission. Is it always going to be like this? Simone's heart broke. I wish I could tell you no. I wish I could promise you that it gets easier. But baby, what I can tell you is this. You did nothing wrong. You belonged in that seat. You always belong. When they finally hung up, Simone sat in the hospital locker room and let herself fall apart. She'd spent a year pulling bodies from wreckage. She'd held dying people's hands. She'd told families their loved ones were gone. She'd worked through the airport incident without breaking, staying focused, staying strong. But this shattered her. Because she could save strangers, but she couldn't protect her own daughter from the world. The next morning, Thomas Whitaker sat in his corner office in downtown D.C., scrolling through emails. His assistant had sent him the complaint he'd filed with the airline, now formally submitted. System error, my ass, he muttered. His phone buzzed. A text from his wife. Did you really file a complaint about a child? He frowned. Texted back. It wasn't about her age. It was about the principal. Tom, let it go. I pay for diamond status. I deserve the seat I booked. You sound ridiculous. He didn't respond. Another email came in, this one from the airline's corporate office. Dear Mr. Whitaker, we have received your complaint regarding Flight 482. After reviewing the flight manifest and speaking with the crew, we can confirm that Seat 2A was correctly assigned to the other passenger. The system error that created the double booking has been addressed. We apologize for the inconvenience and have credited your account with 10,000 miles as a courtesy. Sincerely, Customer Relations. 10,000 miles. Like that was supposed to make it okay. He picked up his phone, dialed his attorney. Jim, it's Tom. I need you to look into something for me. Passenger rights. Specifically, what recourse I have when an airline mishandles a seating dispute. His attorney sighed. Tom, what did you do? I didn't do anything, but I'm not letting this go. What Whitaker didn't know was that his complaint had triggered something else entirely. In the airline's corporate headquarters, a meeting was already underway. Karen Mitchell sat across from 2 regional managers and the VP of Customer Experience. Her personnel file was open on the table. "Walk me through it again," the VP said. Karen had already explained it twice. She explained it a third time. The double booking, the passenger's insistence, the child's paperwork, the captain's intervention. "And you verified her ticket?" "Immediately." "And you offered Mr. Whitaker an alternative seat?" "Row 3, first class." "So what's the issue?" Karen hesitated. "Sir, with respect, the issue is that we questioned a child's right to be in a seat she'd paid for because a white man decided she didn't belong there." The room went quiet. One of the regional managers shifted uncomfortably. "Karen, we have to be careful about making this a race issue." "It was a race issue the moment he looked at her and assumed she was in the wrong seat." "You don't know that." "I've been flying for 20 years. I know exactly what that was." The VP leaned forward. "Did Mr. Whitaker say anything specifically racial?" "No, he didn't have to." "Then we can't make assumptions." Karen's jaw tightened. "So what are we doing here? Are you investigating me?" "We're gathering information. Mr. Whitaker claims the crew was unprofessional and dismissive of his concerns." "His concerns? He wanted us to remove a child from her seat because he didn't like sharing first class with her." "That's not what his complaint says." "Then his complaint is lying." The VP closed the file. "Karen, you're a valued employee, but we need to be objective here. We're going to review the security footage, interview the crew, and determine the appropriate response. The appropriate response is to tell Mr. Whitaker that he was wrong and we won't tolerate discrimination." "We don't use that word lightly." Karen stood up. "Maybe you should start." She walked out. By that afternoon, the story had leaked. Not publicly, not yet, but in the tight-knit community of flight attendants, word spread fast. Jessica called Karen. "Did you hear? They're opening an investigation." "I was in the meeting." "Are we in trouble?" "I don't know. But Jess, we did the right thing." "I know. But what if they don't see it that way?" Karen didn't have an answer for that. Meanwhile, Captain Reynolds was in his own meeting with the chief pilot. "You made an announcement about respect and dignity," the chief pilot said, reading from a report. "I did. Some might interpret that as taking sides." Reynolds' eyes narrowed. "Some might interpret a grown man harassing a child as unacceptable." "We're not debating the passenger's behavior. We're discussing yours." "My behavior was to de-escalate a situation and remind everyone on that aircraft that we have policies for a reason. And those policies don't include making political statements over the intercom. Treating people with respect isn't political. In this climate, everything's political." Reynolds leaned back. "Are you asking me to apologize?" "I'm asking you to be more careful." "Careful about what? Standing up for a child who is being treated unfairly?" The chief pilot closed the file. "Just watch yourself, John. That's all I'm saying." When Reynolds left the office, he pulled out his phone and did something he never thought he'd do. He searched for Dr. Simone Johnson. What he found made him sit down. Atlanta Mercy Hospital, Chief of Trauma Surgery, published researcher. And then, buried in the news archives, an article from a year ago. Local surgeon saves 30-plus lives in airport shooting. He clicked the link. The article detailed a mass casualty event at Hartsfield-Jackson. A gunman had opened fire in Terminal B. Dr. Johnson had been passing through, off-duty, on her way to a conference. She'd run toward the gunfire instead of away. Set up a triage station using supplies from a gift shop and a restaurant. Worked for 3 hours straight, saving lives while police cleared the building. 2 of those lives were airline employees. Reynolds stared at the photo. Dr. Johnson, covered in blood, exhausted, being interviewed by reporters. "I just did what needed to be done," she'd said. He looked at another photo, Dr. Johnson with her daughter. Same article, different angle. The daughter was younger then, maybe 8, but the face was unmistakable. Amara. Reynolds sat back, and then he made a phone call. That evening, Simone's phone rang, unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Dr. Johnson?" "Speaking." "This is Captain John Reynolds. I was the pilot on Flight 482 this morning." Simone's breath caught. "Captain, I'm calling off the record. My supervisor doesn't know I'm making this call, and I'd appreciate it if we could keep it that way. Okay. I wanted you to know that your daughter handled herself with more dignity than most adults I've flown with. And I wanted to apologize that she had to. Simone's throat tightened. Thank you. I also wanted you to know that there's an investigation underway, not into what happened to your daughter, into how the crew handled it, specifically into whether we should have done more. Should you have? Reynolds was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I don't know. We followed protocol. We verified her ticket. We protected her seat. But protocol doesn't account for the emotional weight of being a child in that situation. Protocol doesn't undo the humiliation. No, Simone said softly. It doesn't. I looked you up, Reynolds admitted. After the flight. I wanted to know who Amara's mother was. And I found the article about the airport incident. Dr. Johnson, you saved 2 of our people that day. Did you know that? I saved everyone I could. I didn't ask who they worked for. That's why I'm calling, because I think you deserve to know that the airline is treating this complaint seriously, too seriously, and I'm worried they're going to prioritize optics over what's right. What do you mean? I mean there are people in corporate who would rather sweep this under the rug than admit we failed a child, and I think you need to be prepared for that. Simone's blood ran cold. Are you saying they're going to side with him? I'm saying they're going to do whatever protects the brand, and right now, that might mean finding a middle ground that doesn't exist. There is no middle ground. Either my daughter belonged in that seat, or she didn't. She did, but that's not always enough. They talked for another 10 minutes. Reynolds gave her names, contact information, advice. When they hung up, Simone sat in her car in the hospital parking lot and made a decision. She wasn't going to wait for the airline to do the right thing. She was going to make them. She called her mother. Mom, I need you to do something for me. Anything. I need you to write down everything Amara told you, every detail, times, names, what was said, everything. Why? Because I'm not letting this go, and I need documentation. Eleanor's voice hardened. You're going after them. I'm going to make sure this never happens to another child. Good. When do you need it? Tonight. You'll have it in an hour. Simone's next call was to an attorney friend. They'd gone to med school together before he'd switched to law. Marcus, I need advice. Legal or friendly? Both. She told him everything. When she finished, Marcus whistled low. Simone, this is messy. I know. But it's also winnable, especially given who you are. I don't want to use that. You might not have a choice. Airlines respond to pressure, public pressure, media pressure, and whether you like it or not, you have a platform. I'm not making my daughter a headline. You might not have to, but Simone, if you're serious about this, you need to be ready for it to get ugly.
It's already ugly. A grown man grabbed my daughter's boarding pass and demanded she give up her seat. It doesn't get much uglier than that.
Marcus was quiet. Then he said, let me make some calls. I know someone in their legal department. Off the record, I can feel out where their head's at.
Thank you.
But Simone, promise me something.
What?
Don't do anything rash. Let me handle the legal strategy. You focus on being Amara's mom. That's what I'm doing. I know. Just trust the process. She hung up. But trusting the process had never been Simone's strong suit. She'd learned early in her career that sometimes you had to break protocol to save lives. And right now, saving her daughter's faith in the world felt just as urgent as any trauma bay. She sat in her car, staring at the hospital entrance, and let herself imagine what came next. The fight, the backlash, the scrutiny, but also, maybe, the change. Because if one little girl's courage on a plane could spark something bigger, then every risk was worth it. She started the car, and as she drove home, she didn't know that 300 miles north, Thomas Whitaker was drafting another email. This one wasn't to the airline. It was to a reporter friend. You're not going to believe what happened to me on a flight today. The wheels were in motion, and nobody could stop them now. The email hit the reporter's inbox at 11:47 p.m. David Chen had been covering aviation and consumer rights for the Washington Chronicle for 8 years. He'd seen it all. Lost luggage, overbooked flights, passengers duct-taped to seats. But when he opened Thomas Whitaker's email, something made him sit up straighter. System error resulted in a child being given my assigned first-class seat. When I attempted to resolve the situation professionally, the crew became hostile and accused me of harassment. This kind of reverse discrimination is becoming epidemic in our industry. Reverse discrimination. Chen read it again. Then he looked at Whitaker's LinkedIn profile. Corporate attorney, Georgetown graduate, partner at Morrison and Hale. He started typing a response, then stopped. Something felt off. He'd learned to trust his instincts, and his instincts said there was more to this story. He picked up his phone and called a source at the airline. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Simone couldn't sleep. She'd tried. She'd taken a shower, climbed into bed, closed her eyes. But every time she did, she saw Amara's face, heard her daughter's voice breaking as she described being questioned in front of a cabin full of strangers. At 2 a.m., she gave up. She went to her home office and opened her laptop. She started writing. Not an email, not a complaint, a letter. To the airline's CEO, she wrote for 2 hours straight. No breaks, no editing, just raw, honest truth pouring onto the page. She wrote about being a single mother who worked 60-hour weeks to give her daughter the best life possible. About teaching Amara to be brave, to take up space, to never apologize for existing. About booking that first-class seat because her 10-year-old daughter deserved comfort and safety on a solo flight. She wrote about the phone call she'd received from her mother, about hearing her daughter cry for the first time in years, about the way Amara had tried to protect her from the truth. And then she wrote about the airport incident. She hadn't planned to, but once she started, she couldn't stop. She wrote about running toward gunfire while everyone else ran away, about using tablecloths as tourniquets, about holding a 19-year-old's hand while he bled out, whispering that he was going to be okay, even though she knew he wasn't. She wrote about the 2 airline employees she'd saved, a gate agent named Maria, who'd been shot in the abdomen, a baggage handler named Curtis, who'd taken 3 bullets to the chest. She wrote about how she hadn't thought about what airline they worked for. She'd just seen people who needed help, and now that same airline was investigating whether her daughter deserved the seat she'd paid for. When she finished, it was 4:23 a.m. She read it once, then hit send. 60 seconds later, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello? Dr. Johnson, this is Amanda Price. I'm the executive assistant to Richard Morrison, our CEO. He asked me to call you immediately. Simone's heart stopped. It's 4 in the morning. Mr. Morrison is in London. It's 9 a.m. there. He read your letter the moment it arrived. And? He wants to speak with you directly. Are you available now? Now? Yes, ma'am. Simone's hands started shaking. Put him on. There was a click. Then a man's voice, crisp and authoritative. Dr. Johnson, this is Richard Morrison. Mr. Morrison, I just finished your letter. I've read it 3 times. Simone waited. I want to start by saying I'm sorry. Not as a CEO, as a father. What happened to your daughter should never have happened on one of our aircraft. Thank you, but I'm not finished. I've been up for the past hour pulling flight records, crew reports, and security footage. And Dr. Johnson, I'm appalled. Not just at the passengers' behavior, but at how my team has handled this. Simone sat up straighter. What do you mean? I mean, there's an investigation underway that never should have been opened. I mean, my customer service team sent you a form apology. I mean, the crew member who stood up for your daughter is being questioned like she did something wrong. Karen Mitchell. You know her name? Captain Reynolds told me. Morrison was quiet for a beat. John called you? Last night, off the record. Of course he did. John's one of the best we have, which is why I'm about to make some changes. What kind of changes? The investigation into Karen Mitchell ends immediately. She'll receive a formal commendation for handling a difficult situation with professionalism and courage. The passenger who harassed your daughter will be informed that his complaint has been reviewed and dismissed. And Dr. Johnson, I want to meet with you, in person. You and Amara both. Simone's breath caught. Why? Because your daughter deserves more than an apology over the phone, and because I need to look her in the eye and tell her that what happened was wrong, that she did nothing wrong, and that we're going to do better. When? I'm back in Atlanta Friday. Would that work? Simone checked her calendar mentally. She had surgery scheduled, but she could move it. Yes. Good. My assistant will send you details. And Dr. Johnson, thank you for writing that letter. It took courage. The same courage you showed a year ago when you saved my employees' lives. He hung up. Simone sat in the dark, phone still pressed to her ear, trying to process what just happened. Then she called her mother. Eleanor answered groggily. Simone, what's wrong? Nothing. Everything. I don't know. The CEO just called me. What? Simone told her everything. The letter, the phone call, the meeting. When she finished, Eleanor was silent for a long moment. Baby, do you know what this means? That they're taking it seriously? That you just moved mountains with words, the same way you save lives with your hands. Simone started crying. She couldn't help it. All the rage and fear and exhaustion of the past 24 hours came pouring out. I just want her to be okay, Mom. She will be, because she's got you. Now get some sleep. You've got work in 3 hours. Simone didn't sleep, but she did close her eyes for a while. Across town, David Chen was still digging. He'd made 6 phone calls, 3 to airline sources, 2 to passengers who'd been on Flight 482, 1 to a flight attendant friend who knew Karen Mitchell. The picture emerging was nothing like Whitaker's email suggested. At 6 a.m., he sent Whitaker a reply. Mr. Whitaker, thank you for reaching out. I'd like to discuss this further. Would you be available for a phone interview today? Whitaker responded within minutes. Absolutely. Call any time. Chen dialed at 6:30 a.m. Whitaker answered on the first ring. David Chen? Thomas Whitaker. Thanks for getting back to me so quickly. Of course. I'm very interested in your story. Can you walk me through exactly what happened? Whitaker launched into his version. The double-booked seat, the crew's hostility, the way he'd been treated like a criminal for simply wanting the seat he'd reserved. Chen took notes, let him talk, didn't interrupt. When Whitaker finished, Chen said, and the other passenger, the one in your seat, can you describe her? It was a child, maybe 10 years old? Race? Whitaker hesitated. Why does that matter? I'm just trying to get a complete picture. She was black, but that has nothing to do with... Of course not. And you said you travel this route frequently? Every Monday for 7 years. So you're familiar with the crew. Very. And they've always been professional with you? Until yesterday, yes. Chen scribbled another note. Mr. Whitaker, I appreciate your time. I'm going to do some more research, and I'll be in touch. When will the story run? I'm not sure yet. These things take time. He hung up before Whitaker could respond. Then he called his editor. Laura, I've got something, but I need to dig deeper before we run it. What is it? Possible discrimination case on a commercial flight, but the guy pitching it might be the discriminator, not the victim. How sure are you? 60%. But if I'm right, this is bigger than a seating dispute. This is about a trauma surgeon's daughter being harassed because of her race. The trauma surgeon who saved those people at the airport? You know about that? Everyone knows about that. She was a hero. If her kid was involved in this, we need to be very careful how we report it. Agreed. Give me 48 hours. You've got 24. And Chen, don't screw this up. He didn't plan to. At 7 a.m., Amara woke up in her grandmother's guest room. For a blissful moment, she forgot about yesterday. Then it all came rushing back. The seat, the stairs, the phones. She rolled over and pulled the covers over her head. Eleanor knocked softly. Baby girl, you awake? No. Well, your no-awake self needs to come eat breakfast. I made pancakes. Amara emerged from the blankets. Chocolate chip? Is there any other kind? 10 minutes later, they were sitting at the kitchen table. Amara pushed her pancakes around her plate. Grandma, do you think people will always look at me and think I don't belong places? Eleanor set down her fork. Baby, I'm not going to lie to you. Some people will. Some people are so wrapped up in their own small thinking that they can't see past skin color. But you know what? What? Those people don't matter. The people who matter see you, really see you, your brilliance, your kindness, your strength. And those people know exactly where you belong. But what if there are more people who don't see me than people who do? Then you make them see you, not by changing who you are, by being so undeniably yourself that they have no choice. Amara thought about that. Is that what Mom does? Every single day, your mama walks into rooms where people don't expect a black woman to be a surgeon, and she proves them wrong every single time. But doesn't it get exhausting? Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. Yes, baby, it does. But you know what's more exhausting? Hiding, making yourself smaller, apologizing for taking up space. Your mama refuses to do that, and so should you. Amara's phone buzzed, a text from her mother. Good morning, beautiful girl. I love you. We're going to fix this, I promise. Amara texted back, I love you too. Eleanor watched her granddaughter closely. Your mama's fighting for you. You know that, right? I know. And she's going to win. How do you know? Because Simone Johnson has never lost a fight in her life, and she's not about to start now. At the airline's headquarters, Richard Morrison was in a conference room with his legal team, his head of customer experience, and the VP of operations. Gentlemen, we have a problem. He pulled up the security footage from Flight 482 on the large screen. They watched in silence. The boarding, the confrontation, Whitaker grabbing Amara's boarding pass, the crew's response, the captain's announcement. When it ended, Morrison turned to his team. Tell me, what do you see? The legal counsel spoke first. I see a passenger dispute that was handled appropriately by the crew. Wrong. Try again. The VP of operations shifted uncomfortably. A double booking error that escalated unnecessarily? Still wrong. What I see is a 10-year-old child being publicly humiliated because a grown man decided she didn't belong in first class. And I see my crew doing their job while that child sat there alone, being stared at by an entire cabin. Silence. Do you know who that child's mother is? Heads shook. Morrison pulled up another file. Dr. Simone Johnson, Chief of Trauma Surgery at Atlanta Mercy. And before you ask, yes, that Dr. Johnson, the one who saved 32 lives during the airport shooting, including 2 of our employees. The room went cold. So let me be very clear. We are not defending Thomas Whitaker. We are not investigating Karen Mitchell. We are fixing this immediately. Am I understood? Nods all around. Good, because if this story leaks before we make it right, we're going to look like the airline that persecuted a hero's daughter, and I will not let that happen. The legal counsel raised his hand. Sir, with respect, Thomas Whitaker is a prominent attorney. If we dismiss his complaint without proper investigation, he could sue. Let him sue. I'll take that fight any day over the alternative. And if he goes to the media? Morrison smiled grimly. He already has. Reached out to the Washington Chronicle last night, pitched himself as a victim of reverse discrimination. How do you know that? Because David Chen called me an hour ago, asked if I wanted to comment. I told him I'd have a statement by end of day. What are you going to say? The truth, that we failed a child, that we're taking full responsibility, and that we're implementing new policies to ensure it never happens again. The head of customer experience looked nervous. Sir, that's essentially admitting fault. Because we are at fault, and the longer we pretend otherwise, the worse this gets. Someone knocked on the conference room door. Morrison's assistant poked her head in. Sir, you have a call. It's urgent. I'm in a meeting. It's Captain Reynolds. He says it's about Flight 482. Morrison stood. Excuse me. He stepped outside and took the call. John, what's going on? Sir, I'm at home watching the news. Channel 7 just ran a story about an incident on a commercial flight involving a child and a seating dispute. Morrison's stomach dropped. They didn't. They did. No names yet, but they showed exterior footage of our plane. And Richard, they're framing it as the child being at fault. What? Someone leaked Whitaker's version. They're saying a child with questionable documentation caused a scene in first class. That's not what happened. I know, but that's what's airing. And Richard, I think we have about an hour before someone identifies the airline. After that, we're going to be fighting this in the court of public opinion. Morrison closed his eyes. I'm on it. Thanks for the heads up. He hung up and walked back into the conference room. Change of plans. We're not waiting until end of day. We're releasing a statement in the next 30 minutes. And someone get Dr. Johnson on the phone now. At Eleanor's house, Amara was doing homework at the kitchen table when her grandmother's TV suddenly got louder. In aviation news, a controversial seating dispute on a recent domestic flight has raised questions about airline policies and passenger rights. Eleanor's face went white. Baby, go upstairs. Why? Just go. Now. Amara grabbed her books and ran upstairs, but she could still hear the TV. According to sources, a child traveling alone claimed to have a first-class seat that was also assigned to a frequent flyer. The crew allegedly sided with the child, forcing the adult passenger to move despite his status with the airline. Eleanor grabbed her phone, called Simone. Mom, I know. I'm watching it too. They're making it sound like Amara was the problem. I know. Morrison's team is drafting a statement. But Mom, I need you to keep Amara away from the TV and from her phone. She doesn't need to see this. Too late. She heard it. Upstairs, Amara sat on the bed, her heart pounding. She pulled out her phone and searched for the story. The first headline made her stomach turn. Child causes first-class chaos. Airline forced to intervene. She clicked it. The article was vague, no names, no flight number, but it painted a picture of an entitled child with a questionable ticket disrupting a cabin full of paying passengers. The comments section was worse. Parents need to teach their kids they're not special. Bet the mom was trying to scam a free upgrade. This is what's wrong with society. Everyone thinks they deserve first class. Amara's hands were shaking. She kept scrolling. Then she saw a comment that made her stop breathing. Anyone know which flight this was? I want to make sure I never fly that airline again. Someone had responded. Flight 482, Atlanta to DCA, Monday morning. Friend of mine was on it. Another response. I was on that flight, sat in row 6. The guy who got moved was Thomas Whitaker, lawyer. And the kid? She was maybe 10, black girl traveling alone. Another comment. Wait, Thomas Whitaker from Morrison and Hale? He's my cousin's attorney. Stand-up guy. If he said there was a problem, there was a problem. Amara dropped her phone. Her name wasn't in the articles yet, but it was only a matter of time. She ran to the bathroom and threw up. Eleanor found her there 10 minutes later, sitting on the floor, hugging her knees. Oh, baby. They think I was lying about my ticket. No, they don't. Yes, they do. I read the comments, Grandma. They're saying I caused a scene, that I was trying to scam the airline. Well, those people don't know what they're talking about. But everyone's going to think that's what happened. Everyone's going to think I'm a liar. Eleanor sat down on the floor beside her granddaughter. Listen to me. The truth always comes out. Always. And when it does, every single one of those people is going to feel ashamed of what they said. But what if it doesn't? What if everyone just believes his version? They won't, because your mama won't let them. Simone's phone was ringing off the hook. Marcus, Morrison's team, 3 different reporters, and one number she didn't recognize but answered anyway. Dr. Johnson, this is David Chen from the Washington Chronicle. Her blood went cold. I have no comment. I'm not looking for a comment. I'm looking for the truth, because I've been researching this story for the past 12 hours, and everything I'm finding contradicts what's being reported. What are you finding? That your daughter did nothing wrong, that she had a valid ticket, that a passenger harassed her and the crew protected her, and that somehow this got twisted into a story about an entitled child. Simone's voice broke. She's 10 years old. I know. Which is why I want to tell the real story, but I need your permission, and I need you to trust me. I don't know you. Fair. But Dr. Johnson, I covered the airport shooting. I wrote about what you did, how many lives you saved, and I'm not going to let your daughter be vilified by people who weren't even there. Simone closed her eyes. If I do this, if I let you tell Amara's story, it opens her up to more scrutiny, more comments, more judgment. It does, but it also gives her a voice. Right now, she's a nameless child in a tabloid story. If we tell the truth, she becomes a real person, and people connect with real people. I need to talk to her. Of course, I'll wait. Simone called her mother. Put Amara on. Eleanor handed the phone to Amara. Mom? Baby, there's a reporter who wants to tell our side of the story, but I'm not making this decision without you. It's your story, your choice. Amara was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "What happens if we don't?" His version becomes the truth. And if we do? People will know what really happened, but they'll also know who you are. Your name will be public. There will be more attention, maybe more hate. Will it help other kids? Simone's breath caught. What? If we tell the truth, will it help other kids who get treated like I did? Yes, baby, I think it will. Then do it. Simone's eyes filled with tears. Are you sure? I'm tired of being quiet, Mom. I'm tired of pretending it didn't hurt. I want people to know what he did, and I want them to know I didn't do anything wrong. You didn't. You never did. Then let's tell them. Simone got back on with Chen. You have my permission, but Chen, if you betray my daughter's trust, if you twist this story into something it's not, I will spend the rest of my life making sure everyone knows what kind of journalist you are. I understand. And Dr. Johnson, I won't let you down. 3 hours later, the Washington Chronicle's website crashed from traffic. The headline read, "Hero Surgeon's Daughter Harassed on Flight, the True Story Behind the Viral Seating Dispute." The article was devastating. Chen had done his homework. He'd interviewed passengers, crew members. He'd obtained the security footage. And he'd woven it all together into a narrative that was impossible to deny. By 8 p.m., it had been shared 40,000 times. By 10 p.m., every major news outlet was covering it. And by midnight, Thomas Whitaker's phone was ringing with calls from his law firm, demanding to know why he'd dragged their name into a national scandal. But none of that mattered to Amara, because for the first time in 48 hours, she felt like maybe, just maybe, someone finally heard her. Thomas Whitaker's phone started ringing at 12:47 a.m. He'd been asleep for exactly 23 minutes. The first call was from his law partner, Stephen Morrison, no relation to the airline CEO, but equally furious. "Tom, what the hell did you do?" Whitaker sat up, disoriented. "What are you talking about?" "The Chronicle article. It's everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, every news site in the country. And our firm's name is attached to it. I gave them my side of the story. Your side. Tom, they have security footage. They have witness statements. They have a 10-year-old child on record saying you grabbed her boarding pass and told her she didn't belong in first class. That's not what happened. Then explain to me why 23 clients have emailed in the last hour asking if Morrison & Hale condones discrimination against children." Whitaker's blood ran cold. "They what?" "We're having an emergency partners meeting at 7 a.m. You better have answers." The line went dead. Whitaker pulled up the Chronicle article on his phone, started reading. His stomach dropped with every paragraph. Chen had included everything: the security footage screenshots, passenger quotes, Karen Mitchell's statement. Even Captain Reynolds had given an interview, carefully worded, but devastating. And then there was Amara. Chen had interviewed her. Or rather, he'd let Simone speak for her, sharing what her daughter had said in private, about feeling scared, about the stairs, about a grown man making her feel like she'd done something wrong just by existing. The comments section had exploded. 15,000 comments in 6 hours. This made me cry, that poor baby. I hope that lawyer loses everything, harassing a child. Her mother is a literal hero, and he treated her daughter like a criminal. Morrison & Hale should fire him immediately. Whitaker kept scrolling. His hands were shaking now. Someone had found his LinkedIn, posted it in the comments. Someone else had found his wife's Facebook page. By 1:30 a.m., his wife was awake too. She'd been getting messages, dozens of them. "Tom," her voice was ice, "we need to talk." He couldn't look at her. "Did you really grab that little girl's boarding pass?" "I didn't grab it. I just picked it up to check. She's 10 years old." "I know, but..." And you complained to a reporter that you were the victim? Jennifer, you don't understand. The system showed my seat. I had every right to what? Humiliate a child in front of 50 people? I didn't humiliate anyone. The crew made it into something it wasn't. Jennifer stared at her husband like she was seeing him for the first time. Oh my God, you actually believe that? Whitaker opened his mouth, closed it. He had no defense for that. Jennifer stood up. I'm sleeping in the guest room, and tomorrow you need to fix this. How? I don't know, but you better figure it out, because if you don't, I'm not sure I can stay married to someone who does this to children. She left. Whitaker sat alone in the dark, staring at his phone, watching his life implode in real time. In D.C., Amara couldn't sleep either. She was in her grandmother's guest room, sitting cross-legged on the bed with her laptop open, reading every comment on Chen's article. Eleanor had told her not to. Simone had begged her not to. But she couldn't help it. She needed to know what people were saying, needed to know if they believed her. Most of the comments were supportive, angry on her behalf, calling for Whitaker's job, his law license, his reputation. But some weren't. This is a PR stunt by the airline to cover up their booking error. That mother is exploiting her daughter for attention. Everyone's so quick to cry racism. Maybe the guy just wanted his seat. Each negative comment felt like a punch to the stomach. Eleanor knocked softly. Baby, it's almost 2 a.m. I can't sleep. Then close that laptop and come downstairs. We'll make hot chocolate. Grandma, they're saying Mom is exploiting me. Eleanor's face hardened. She sat down on the bed and took the laptop, closed it firmly. Listen to me. There will always be people who refuse to see the truth. People who are so invested in their worldview that facts don't matter. Those people are not worth your energy. But what if they're right? What if we made it worse by going public? Made it worse for who? For that man who's facing consequences for his actions? Good. He should face consequences. But people are calling his office, sending him hate mail. His wife is getting harassed. Eleanor cupped Amara's face. That is not your responsibility. You didn't make him act the way he did. You didn't make him call a reporter. He did that himself. And now he's learning that actions have consequences. It still doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to, because you're a kind person with a conscience. But baby, don't let kindness turn into guilt for something you didn't do. Amara leaned into her grandmother's shoulder. I just want it to be over. It will be, but first we have to get through it. At 7 a.m., the partners' meeting at Morrison & Hale began. Whitaker walked into the conference room to find 11 pairs of eyes staring at him with varying degrees of anger, disappointment, and disgust. Stephen Morrison didn't waste time. Tom, we've lost 4 clients since midnight. 4. Including Davenport Industries, which was a $12 million account. Well, they can't terminate based on... They absolutely can, and they did. Their CEO sent an email at 5 a.m. saying they refuse to work with a firm that employs someone who, quote, targets children based on racial bias. I didn't target anyone. Another partner spoke up, Rachel Winters, one of the few people in the room Whitaker considered a friend. Tom, I watched the security footage. I read the article. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but I need you to help me understand. What were you thinking? I was thinking that I booked a seat and someone else was in it. A child with a valid ticket that the crew confirmed. But the system showed the system was wrong, and the moment the crew told you that, you should have moved. Instead, you escalated. Why? Whitaker looked around the table. He could feel the room turning against him. I don't know, he said quietly. You don't know? I felt like they weren't taking me seriously, like my status didn't matter, like I was being dismissed because... He stopped himself, but everyone heard what he didn't say. Stephen leaned forward. Because what, Tom? Because they sided with a black child over a white man? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Silence filled the room. Finally, Rachel spoke. Tom, the firm is getting destroyed in the media. Our phones haven't stopped ringing. We're trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. And honestly, I don't see a way forward that includes you staying here. Whitaker's world tilted. You're firing me? We're asking you to resign, effective immediately. It's better for everyone. Better for everyone or better for the firm? Right now, those are the same thing. I've been with this firm for 17 years, and we've valued your contributions. But Tom, this isn't just about business. This is about values. And what you did on that plane doesn't align with who we are as a firm. Whitaker stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. Fine, you'll have my resignation by noon. He walked out. Nobody tried to stop him. By 9 a.m., the story had evolved. News outlets were now running follow-up pieces, background on Simone, the airport shooting footage, interviews with people she'd saved that day. Maria Gonzalez, the gate agent Simone had saved, was interviewed on Good Morning America. Doctor, Johnson pulled me out of the line of fire. She used her bare hands to stop the bleeding. She stayed with me until the paramedics arrived, even though there were bullets flying everywhere. She saved my life. And this airline just let someone humiliate her daughter? That's unforgivable. Curtis Williams, the baggage handler, gave his own statement. I was lying on the ground, couldn't breathe, thought I was dying. She told me to look at her, told me to stay with her, and I did. Because of her, I'm alive. Because of her, I got to meet my granddaughter who was born 3 months later. So when I heard what happened to her little girl, I wanted to cry. She deserved better. Her daughter deserved better. The interviews went viral. By 10 a.m., the airline stock had dropped 2 points. By 11 a.m., Richard Morrison was on every news channel, giving the same carefully crafted statement. What happened to Amara Johnson should never have happened on one of our aircraft. We failed her. We failed her mother. And we failed every passenger who trusts us with their safety and dignity. We are implementing immediate policy changes, including mandatory bias training for all crew members, enhanced protocols for handling passenger disputes, and a comprehensive review of how we treat unaccompanied minors. This is not just about one flight. This is about who we are as a company, and we can do better. We will do better. Simone watched the press conference from her office at the hospital. When it ended, her phone rang. Morrison's assistant. Dr. Johnson, Mr. Morrison would still like to meet with you and Amara on Friday, if that still works for you. It does. Wonderful. We'll send a car to pick you up. And Dr. Johnson, Mr. Morrison wanted me to tell you that this meeting isn't about PR. It's about making things right. We'll see, Simone said. She hung up and checked her messages. 63 new emails, 42 calls, 17 texts. One stood out. From Captain Reynolds. Dr. Johnson, I don't know if you've seen the news, but I wanted you to know that I'm proud of what you're doing. Amara is lucky to have you, and the world is lucky to have both of you. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. Simone saved the message. Then she called Amara. Baby, how are you doing? Tired. Everyone's talking about it. But if they just remember that I was the kid in the plane story, then I don't know. You get to decide who you are, baby. Not them, not the story. You. What if I don't know who I am yet? Then you have your whole life to figure it out, and I'll be right here the whole time. They talked for another 20 minutes. When they hung up, Simone felt marginally better. But the day wasn't over yet. At 2 p.m., Thomas Whitaker posted a statement on LinkedIn. After reflection, I realized that my actions on Flight 482 were inappropriate and hurtful. I allowed frustration over a seating error to escalate into something that should never have happened. I sincerely apologize to Amara Johnson and her family for the distress I caused. There is no excuse for how I behaved, and I take full responsibility. I am stepping away from Morrison and Hale to focus on becoming a better person. I hope in time I can earn forgiveness. The statement went viral immediately. Reactions were mixed. Too little, too late. At least he apologized. This is damage control, not genuine remorse. I hope that little girl knows none of this was her fault. Amara saw the apology an hour after it was posted. Her grandmother showed it to her, unsure if she should, but feeling like Amara deserved to know. What do you think? Eleanor asked. Amara read it twice. Then she set the phone down. I think he's sorry he got caught. Not sorry for what he did. Eleanor hugged her granddaughter. You are wise beyond your years, baby girl. I don't feel wise. I feel tired. I know. That evening, Simone drove to D.C. She'd rearranged her schedule, called in favors, and cleared her weekend. She needed to be with her daughter. When she walked into Eleanor's house, Amara ran into her arms. They stood in the entryway, holding each other, neither one willing to let go. "I missed you," Amara whispered. "I missed you too, baby, so much." They spent the evening together, no TV, no phones, just the three of them, eating Eleanor's cooking, playing card games, pretending the world outside didn't exist. But at 9 p.m., Eleanor's phone rang. She answered, listened, then covered the mouthpiece. "Simone, it's someone from CNN. They want to interview you and Amara." Simone shook her head immediately. "No interviews. They're offering a primetime slot, full editorial control." "I don't care. Amara's been through enough." Eleanor relayed the message. Hung up. 10 minutes later, another call. ABC, then NBC, then a producer from 60 Minutes. Simone turned off Eleanor's phone, then her own. "No more," she said firmly. "We told our story. That's enough." But the next morning, something happened that changed everything. Karen Mitchell called. Simone almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Dr. Johnson, this is Karen Mitchell. I was the lead flight attendant on Flight 482. I remember, Captain Reynolds mentioned you. I don't want to take up your time. I just wanted to say thank you for fighting for your daughter and for fighting for those of us who tried to do the right thing." Simone's throat tightened. "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do. Because of you, the airline dropped the investigation into my conduct. Because of you, they're changing their training. Because of you, maybe the next child who boards my flight won't have to go through what Amara did." "I hope so," Karen's voice cracked. "I have a daughter. She's 12. And when I saw Amara sitting in that seat, being questioned, being stared at, all I could think was, what if this was my child? And Dr. Johnson, I didn't do enough. I followed protocol, but I didn't protect her heart. I didn't stop the other passengers from recording. I didn't make that man apologize on the spot. I didn't do enough." "You did what you could. It wasn't enough. But I promise you, it will be next time. I'll never let another child feel that way on my watch. Never." They talked for a few more minutes. When they hung up, Simone sat in Eleanor's kitchen and cried. Not from sadness, from something else. Hope, maybe. Or the belief that change was actually possible. Friday arrived faster than expected. Simone and Amara dressed carefully. Professional, but comfortable. Simone wore her white coat, the one she'd been wearing in all the photos from the airport incident. Amara wore the same navy cardigan she'd worn on the flight. They didn't discuss why. They just knew. The car arrived at 10 a.m., sleek, black, silent. They drove to the airline's headquarters in downtown Atlanta, a building Simone had passed 100 times but never entered. Richard Morrison met them in the lobby personally. No assistants, no PR team, just him. He was younger than Simone expected, maybe 50, silver hair, kind eyes that looked genuinely troubled. "Dr. Johnson, Amara, thank you for coming." He shook Simone's hand, then he crouched down to Amara's level. "Amara, my name is Richard. I'm the CEO of this airline, and I need to tell you something very important. Are you ready?" Amara nodded, her hand tight in her mother's. "What happened to you on that plane was wrong. It should never have happened, and I am so, so sorry that it did. You didn't do anything wrong. You belonged in that seat. You belong anywhere you want to be. And I failed you by not making sure every single person who works for this airline knows that. Can you forgive me?" Amara's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. Morrison's own eyes were wet. "Thank you. That means more than you know." He stood and gestured toward the elevator. "I have some people who want to meet you, if that's okay." They rode to the 20th floor in silence. When the elevator doors opened, Simone stopped breathing. Maria Gonzalez was standing there, and Curtis Williams, and 6 other people Simone didn't recognize at first. Then she realized they were all from the airport, all people she'd saved that day. Maria stepped forward first, tears streaming down her face. "Dr. Johnson, you saved my life, and when I heard what happened to your baby girl, I wanted to do something, anything." Curtis was next. We all did. So we called Mr. Morrison, told him if he didn't make this right, we'd go to the media ourselves, tell them exactly what kind of hero you are, and what kind of airline treats a hero's daughter like that. Morrison spoke quietly. They didn't have to threaten me. I was already planning to fix this. But having them here felt important. Because, Amara, you need to know something. Your mother saved these people's lives. And because she did, they got to go home to their families. They got to watch their kids grow up. They got to keep living. And that matters. What you went through matters too. And we're not going to pretend it doesn't. Simone was crying now, openly. Amara was too. Maria knelt down. Honey, I have a daughter your age, and if someone treated her the way that man treated you, I'd be devastated. But I'd also be so proud of how brave she was, the way your mama is proud of you. You stood your ground. You didn't let anyone make you small. That takes courage, Curtis added, and because you spoke up, other kids won't have to go through what you did. That's heroic, just like your mama. Amara looked up at Simone. Mom? Yeah, baby? I'm glad we didn't stay quiet. Simone pulled her daughter close. Me too. Morrison invited them into a private conference room. Over the next hour, he outlined the changes being implemented, the bias training, the new passenger protection protocols, the whistleblower system for crew members who witnessed discrimination. He showed them the internal memo going out to every employee, the one that started with Amara's story and ended with a promise. This will never happen again. When the meeting ended, Morrison had one more thing. Amara, I know this might not mean much after everything you've been through, but I wanted to give you something. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a lifetime flight pass, unlimited first-class travel for her and her family, forever. I'm not trying to buy your forgiveness, Morrison said quickly. I know I can't, but I wanted you to know that you're always welcome on our planes. Always. You belong there, in first class, in every class, anywhere you want to go. Amara held the pass carefully. Then she looked at Morrison. Thank you, but can I ask you something? Anything. Can you make sure other kids don't need one of these to feel safe? Morrison's breath caught. Yes, I promise you, we will. They left the building an hour later. As they walked to the car, Amara said, Mom, do you think he meant it about the changes? I think he's going to try, and if he doesn't, we'll make sure the world knows. Good. They drove to Eleanor's house, spent the weekend together, healing, laughing, being a family. On Sunday night, as Simone packed to drive back to Atlanta, Amara asked, What happens now? What do you mean? With the story, with everything. Does it just end? Simone sat down on the bed beside her daughter. The story doesn't end, baby. It changes. It grows. It becomes part of who you are. But it doesn't define you. You define you. What if people always see me as the girl from the plane? Then you show them there's so much more to see. Amara leaned against her mother's shoulder. I love you. I love you too, more than anything in this world. Monday morning, Amara went back to school. She was terrified. But when she walked into her classroom, something unexpected happened. Her teacher, Mrs. Patterson, smiled at her. Welcome back, Amara. We missed you. Her classmates didn't mob her, didn't ask questions. They just treated her normally. Well, almost normally. At lunch, her best friend Zoe sat down beside her. You okay? Yeah. You want to talk about it? Not really. Okay. Want to hear about the drama with Marcus and Jen? Amara smiled. Yes. And just like that, life kept moving forward. The story faded from the news cycle. Other scandals took its place. Other headlines dominated. But the changes stuck. 3 months later, Karen Mitchell helped a young black boy traveling alone find his seat in first class. When an older passenger looked at him suspiciously, Karen stopped everything. This young man has a valid ticket for this seat. If anyone has a problem with that, I'll be happy to escort you off this aircraft. Nobody said a word. The boy sat down safely, and Karen thought of Amara. 6 months later, the airline released its quarterly bias training report. 98% of employees completed. 87% reported feeling more confident handling discrimination. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and sometimes progress is enough to change everything. 1 year later, Amara was sitting in seat 2A again. Same flight, Atlanta to D.C. Same day of the week, Monday morning. But everything else was different. She was 11 now, taller. Her braids were longer. She wore headphones and carried a different book, The Hate You Give this time, a gift from her mother. And she wasn't alone. Simone sat beside her in 2B. She'd cleared her schedule, moved surgeries, pulled every string necessary to make this trip with her daughter. "You okay?" Simone asked as they settled into their seats. Amara nodded. "Yeah, just weird being back. Well, we can still change flights if you want." "No, I need to do this." The cabin filled slowly. Business travelers, families, a college student with headphones, an elderly couple holding hands. And then he walked on. Not Thomas Whitaker, someone else. But the resemblance was enough to make Amara's stomach clench. Middle-aged, white, expensive suit, briefcase. He stopped at row 2, looked at his boarding pass, looked at Amara. Simone tensed, ready to fight. But the man just smiled. "Excuse me, is that 2C? "Yes, sir," Amara said quietly. "Perfect, thank you." He stowed his bag and sat down without another word. Amara exhaled. Simone squeezed her hand. "Proud of you. I didn't do anything. You got on the plane. That's everything." The flight took off smoothly. No incidents, no confrontations, just a normal flight. Halfway through, the man in 2C tapped Amara's shoulder gently. She jumped. "Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. I just wanted to ask, what are you reading?" Amara held up the book. The man's eyebrows lifted. "That's a powerful one. My daughter read it last year. She's about your age. Changed the way she sees the world. It's good so far. Well, don't let me interrupt. Just wanted to say hi." He smiled and went back to his laptop. Amara looked at her mother. Simone's eyes were wet. Because sometimes that's all it takes. A stranger being kind. Seeing a child as a child. Treating her with simple, uncomplicated respect. It shouldn't feel revolutionary, but after everything, it did. When they landed, Eleanor was waiting at the gate. She wrapped Amara in a hug that lasted a full minute. "How was the flight, baby girl?" "It was fine. Actually fine." Eleanor pulled back, studying her granddaughter's face. "You sure?" "I'm sure." And she was. That weekend, something unexpected arrived in the mail. A letter, handwritten, no return address. Eleanor brought it to Amara carefully. "Baby, this came for you, but you don't have to read it if you don't want to." Amara took the envelope, turned it over. Her name was written in neat cursive on the front. "Who's it from?" "Open it and see." Amara slid her finger under the flap and pulled out a single sheet of paper. She read the first line and froze. "Dear Amara, my name is Jennifer Whitaker. I am Thomas Whitaker's wife." Simone appeared in the doorway. "What is that?" "It's from his wife." "Let me see it." "No, I want to read it first." Simone and Eleanor exchanged glances but stayed quiet. Amara kept reading. "I don't expect you to forgive my husband. I don't expect you to even read this letter, but I needed to write it anyway because I need you to know something. What he did to you changed our family. Not in the way you might think. It didn't bring us closer. It tore us apart. Because it forced me to see something I'd been ignoring for years. My husband had become someone I didn't recognize. Someone who could look at a child and see a threat instead of a person. Someone who valued his comfort over your dignity. I filed for divorce 3 months ago. Our daughter Emma, who is 12, asked me why. I told her the truth. I told her what her father did to you. And she said something I'll never forget. She said, "Mom, if Dad did that to a girl my age, what does he really think of me?" I didn't have a good answer. I still don't. But I wanted you to know that your courage didn't just change an airline's policies. It changed a little girl's understanding of what she deserves from the men in her life. Emma asked me to tell you thank you. From her to you. One 12-year-old to one 11-year-old. Thank you for not staying quiet. Thank you for showing her what bravery looks like. I hope you never have to be that brave again. But if you do, I hope you know that girls like Emma are watching and learning and becoming better because you refused to be small. With respect and gratitude, Jennifer Whitaker. Amara read it twice. Then she handed it to her mother. Simone read it, tears streaming down her face. Eleanor read it last. When she finished, she sat down hard. Lord have mercy. Can I write back? Amara asked. You want to? I want to tell Emma thank you for seeing it, for understanding. Simone hugged her daughter. Then yes, you can write back. That night, Amara sat at Eleanor's kitchen table with a blank piece of paper and a pen. She wrote, Dear Emma, your mom told me what you said about wondering what your dad thinks of you. I don't know your dad, so I can't answer that. But I know what I think of you. I think you're brave for asking hard questions. I think you're smart for seeing the truth even when it hurts. And I think you're going to be amazing because you already know that you deserve better. My mom tells me all the time that we teach people how to treat us, not by what we say, but by what we accept. You didn't accept what your dad did. That matters. Stay brave, stay smart, stay you. Your friend, Amara. She sealed it in an envelope and addressed it to Jennifer Whitaker, care of the law firm's address she found online. 3 weeks later, a response came, this time from Emma herself. Dear Amara, I've never had a friend I've never met before, but I think you're my friend because you understand something most people don't, what it feels like to be disappointed by someone you're supposed to trust. My dad called me last week, first time in months. He wanted to explain, to tell me his side. I told him I didn't want to hear it, because his side doesn't matter. What matters is what he did to you, and what that taught me about who he really is. My therapist says I'm grieving the dad I thought I had, that it's okay to be angry and sad at the same time. I think she's right. But I also think I'm going to be okay, because of people like you, and my mom, and everyone who spoke up when they saw something wrong. I'm starting middle school next year. And I'm scared, but I'm also ready, because you showed me that speaking up matters, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Thank you for being brave. I'm going to try to be brave too. Love, Emma. Amara kept that letter in her nightstand drawer, read it whenever she felt small, because Emma was right. Bravery mattered, even when it cost everything. 6 months after that, Simone got a call from Richard Morrison's office. Dr. Johnson, Mr. Morrison would like to invite you and Amara to our annual shareholder meeting. We're unveiling the new Passenger Protection Initiative, and he'd like you both to be there. Simone almost said no. They'd moved on. Amara was thriving. The story had faded. But then she thought about all the children who might board planes in the future, all the Amaras who deserved better. We'll be there. The shareholder meeting was held in a massive conference hall in downtown Atlanta. 500 people, investors, board members, media. Simone and Amara sat in the front row. When Morrison took the stage, he didn't start with earnings or projections. He started with Amara's story. 18 months ago, a 10-year-old girl boarded one of our flights. She had a valid ticket. She followed every rule. She did nothing wrong. And yet, she was made to feel like she didn't belong. Not by our crew, who ultimately did their job, but by a passenger who saw a child and made assumptions based on nothing but appearance. That incident exposed a gap in our policies, a gap between what we said we valued and what we actually protected. Today, I'm proud to announce that gap no longer exists. He pulled up a slide. The new Passenger Protection Initiative. Zero tolerance for discrimination. Mandatory intervention training for all crew. A hotline for passengers who experience bias. And a passenger bill of rights that explicitly protected children, minorities, and anyone traveling alone. These changes exist because one little girl refused to move. Because her mother refused to stay quiet. Because people like Maria Gonzalez and Curtis Williams reminded us who we are and what we owe to the people we serve. He gestured to Amara. Amara Johnson is here today, and I'd like to ask her to come up here, if she's comfortable. Simone looked at her daughter. You don't have to. I know, but I want to. Amara stood up, walked to the stage. Morrison handed her the microphone. She looked out at 500 faces staring at her. Her hands shook. Her voice almost cracked, but she spoke anyway. My name is Amara Johnson. I'm 11 years old, and a year and a half ago, a man told me I didn't belong in first class. He didn't say it was because I'm black. He didn't have to. I could feel it. Everyone could feel it. And for a long time, I thought maybe he was right. Maybe I didn't belong there. Maybe I'd done something wrong. But my mom told me something that changed everything. She said I didn't need permission to take up space. I didn't need to apologize for existing. I just needed to remember that I belong everywhere I have a right to be. So when